Jeep is looking for a second chance at a first impression with this refreshed 2026 Grand Wagoneer. What's up, folks? I'm Dave Undercoffler, head of consumer insights for CarGurus.com. It's been several years since Jeep first introduced the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer, large three-row family SUVs that are aimed at competing with the Chevy Tahoe and Suburban and Ford Expedition. Now, for 2026, Jeep is hitting the reset button, consolidating both models into just the Grand Wagoneer. It's also brought a host of other upgrades to this model. So is all that going to be enough to stay current with the other big box rivals? Let's go spend some time with this and find out. But before we do, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. All right, let's start by clearing up some of the naming conventions. Previously, as I said, there used to be a Wagoneer and a Grand Wagoneer. For 2026, all of that is gone. There is now just the Grand Wagoneer. In terms of trims, the base trim is called the Grand Wagoneer, then there's the Limited, and then there's the Summit. You can also get a reserve package on the Limited and the Summit. And then for 2026, there's also the Upland trim, which is more of an off-road oriented setup, and the 85th anniversary, which just gets you some extra goodies. And then there are two different lengths available. What we've got today is the standard wheelbase. This would be something like a Chevy Tahoe or Ford Expedition. There's also an L, a longer wheelbase, available on any of the trims of the Grand Wagoneer. That would be closer in size to something like a Chevy Suburban or Ford Expedition Max. As far as what we're testing today, this is a standard wheelbase model, limited trim with the reserve package, so everything you see here is about $84,000, including destination. Now, in terms of exterior design, this is one of the areas that Jeep made some of the biggest changes to this 2026 Grand Wagoneer. Overall, what you're going to see is a lot less chrome than before. That's a deliberate move to make it look a little more sporty. It's also just sort of sleeker overall and more refined while still maintaining that Jeep ruggedness. You've got sleeker headlights right here. This grille is illuminated, and the overall fascia and lower bumper have also been redesigned. All right, turning to the side, really not many changes to the styling for this mid-cycle refresh. Our limited reserve trim does have 22-inch alloy wheels. We also have power retractable running boards. In terms of dimensions, this Grand Wagoneer is pretty big. It's longer than the Chevy Tahoe and the Ford Expedition. If you opt for the Grand Wagoneer L, that too is longer than the Chevy Suburban and Ford Expedition Max. Finally, at the back, again, you're seeing a sleeker styling going on back here. Definitely not as awkward as previous years. They sort of cleaned everything up. You've got this horizontal light bar running back here. These taillights are also, again, a little sleeker. Also, another thing you're seeing on this version of the Grand Wagoneer are Jeep badges. Previously, they really didn't put the Jeep name on the exterior of the Grand Wagoneer. They wanted it to stand sort of as its own sub-brand, but now Jeep's leaning into it, and in my view, they're all the better for it. Under the hood, there is just a single powertrain available on this 2026 model. This is a 3-liter twin turbocharged inline 6-cylinder engine. It's called the Hurricane. It makes 420 horsepower and 468 pound-feet of torque. It's paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. 4-wheel drive is standard on nearly every trim of this Grand Wagoneer, although the base Grand Wagoneer trim can be had with a rear-wheel drive setup. Jeep has said it's working on a plug-in hybrid version of this Grand Wagoneer. That'll be available at a later date. In terms of fuel economy, the EPA rates this 4-wheel drive model at 17 miles per gallon in the city, 23 on the highway, and 19 overall. Now, in real-world testing, we are definitely not getting those numbers. We'll tell you what we're getting a little bit later. All right, now to the interior, and Jeep actually didn't make too many big changes for 2026, but that's a good thing because this is already a really nice interior. In front of me, I've got a 10.25-inch digital display for the instrument panel. This is configurable to all different modes. I've got map mode right now, but you can get a variety of different things to display there. That's pretty cool. Right here, we have a 12-inch display for the infotainment system. This has wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto connectivity. This screen uses Jeep's Uconnect 5 operating system. It's really pretty good. All of the menus and buttons are laid out in a really logical order. I like that. The screen itself is responsive to your touch. Another thing I like is you do have physical buttons down below for the climate control and a pair of physical knobs, so it's not all touchscreen or touch-sensitive panels. That's a big plus in my book. And then along the side of the screen here, you have the buttons for the heated and cooled seats. We also have a heated steering wheel. Our trim doesn't have it, but on higher trims like the Summit, this panel right here, that's a door for the storage space beneath it, this panel will actually be its own screen to give you additional functionality, so that's a pretty cool trick. Definitely adds a layer of luxury to the Grand Wagoneer. Overall, though, this cabin itself is very luxurious as it sits. Again, this is $84,000, kind of in the middle of the ballpark. It's certainly expensive, but it's right in line with some of its competitors. And for that money, you are getting a lot of content, a lot of build quality, and a lot of amenities. These seats are Napa leather, really nice bolsters on the side. We've got stitched leather across the dashboard. We also have a panoramic moonroof, a heads-up display, a really great 19 speaker Macintosh audio system, and a surround view parking camera. All right, we're gonna show you the second and third row space, but before we do, I wanna show you one of my favorite features in this Grand Wagoneer. Not all 3-row SUVs have this, so when they do have it, I'm really excited about it. As a parent, usually we have car seats here, whether it's this booster seat or something larger. What's great about this seat is you hit a button right here, and it will move the seat out of the way, but without collapsing. So you can leave that car seat there, allow people to get to the third row very easily, and then it folds right back to where it was. Obviously, you can't do that with the kid in the seat, but that's a really nice feature, and you don't see that every day. All right, now to second and third row space, and this is one of the areas where those extra dimensions on the outside pay real dividends on the inside. There is more interior space, whether that's legroom or headroom, in this Grand Wagoneer than the competing Tahoe or Suburban or Expedition Max models, and that's pretty cool. So I'm 6'1", I've got the front seat to where I would have it if I were sitting up there. Basically, I'm sitting behind myself and I have a ton of room, and another thing that I like is that this seat does slide fore and aft. So if you want more room, you've got it there, and it can actually get really close to this seat. Maybe you've got a car seat here and you need easier access to it. So that amount of flexibility is really cool. Obviously, we have a pair of captain's seats here. These are standard on all Grand Wagoneer models. You can opt for a bench seat if you want it. And then in terms of amenities, you've got quite a few back here. We have our own climate control system back here. These two seats are also heated, so that's pretty cool. Down below, you've got a pair of USB-C and USB-A charging ports, and then a normal household outlet. Finally, because our model has a reserve package, we also have sunshades in case your little ones are trying to sleep. And then there's the third row. This is actually a really comfortable place to spend some time. One of the main things I like is that this seat cushion is not too close to the floor. Other 3-row SUVs will have it too close to the floor, so if you're an adult riding back here, it feels like your knees are too close to your chest. Not so back here. This is a very comfortable seat. I've got the middle seat and the front seat adjusted to where I would sit if I were in them. So this is basically 3 of me sitting in tandem, and there's plenty of space, as you can see. Again, tons of leg room, tons of room for my knees, and headroom is really great. In terms of amenities, there are quite a few back here. There is a fixed sunroof with a sunshade. I also have power reclining seats right here. That's just a nice bonus feature. And then you've got a pair of USB-C and USB-A charge ports on either side. Finally, in terms of cargo space, again, the Grand Wagoneer outclasses its competitors. You've got almost 28 cubic feet of space back here. That's certainly a lot, but if it's not enough, remember you do also have the option of the Grand Wagoneer L. Those models add $3,000 to the sticker price of the regular Grand Wagoneer, and back here you then get 44 cubic feet of space with these rear seats folded up. Regardless of which trim or model you choose, you do have these third row seats which do fold at the touch of a button. All right, next up, driving impressions. And the first thing you notice when you get in and drive this Grand Wagoneer is just how refined it feels. I know it goes up more basic Chevy and Ford competitors, but this definitely feels like a luxury model. The version we're testing has the optional air suspension, so that together with the steering feel and the ride quality overall, in addition to the lack of road noise or wind noise that comes into this cabin, yeah, overall feels like a very refined driving experience. So I do like that. I will say 420 horsepower on this inline 6. It feels enough once you really stomp on it and get it up and going, but around town from a dead stop, it does feel a little sleepy. You can put it into sport mode. That sort of livens things up a little bit, but overall it is a little bit slow to respond. A V8 that's naturally aspirated would be a little more responsive in those situations. And then there's the issue of fuel economy. As I mentioned earlier, maybe you're thinking, okay, cool, it's an inline 6 twin turbo. You're gonna have better fuel economy than a rival V8. Not so. We've been driving this car for almost a week and we're averaging about 14 miles per gallon. That's in city and highway driving. So you're definitely not really getting any advantages by having a 6. Otherwise, the rest of the driving experience is really pretty good. The transmission has really quick upshifts or downshifts. I like the timing on them, so that's nice. It's nice and refined, stays out of the way when you need it to. Visibility is good, not great. It's good out the front because you're up so high, you've got a really nice commanding view of the road. But the A pillar right here with this handle and then the B pillar over my shoulder, they're both kind of thick, so that does get in the way a little bit. Looking out the back, again, you've got a really nice profile, very squared off in the back, so you can see back there really easily. Finally, one last thing I've noticed while we've been testing this Grand Wagoneer is just how maneuverable it is. You can turn this thing around in a really tight parking spot or maybe a cul-de-sac. I love that. And then the 360 cameras just give you extra peace of mind when you are turning around. All right, folks, there you have it. Our review of the 2026 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Pros, well, this thing is cavernous inside. It gives you plenty of space for people and cargo, and we do love that. We also really like the styling changes Jeep made to the exterior of this truck for 2026. It resolves some of the awkwardness that the initial version had. And finally, this updated version is definitely priced more competitively. Not only is it in line with some of its competitors like the Chevy Tahoe and Ford Expedition, but you also get an extra layer of refinement to boot. Cons? Well, there's no V8 available, and that may be a turnoff for some buyers. Also, the inline-six that this does come with is definitely thirsty. Under 14 miles per gallon in daily driving really isn't that good, and it can be a little sleepy off the line. And finally, while the exterior styling is definitely improved, it still might not be for everyone. But overall, we came away fans of this 2026 Grand Wagoneer. We think Jeep did a really nice job solving and addressing some of the issues with the earlier version. Not only does it offer a ton of space inside, but it does so with a little more panache and upscale feel than its Chevy and Ford competitors, and we're a big fan of that. So for reviews or listings of this Jeep or anything else you're shopping for, new or used, be sure to check out CarGurus.com. And CarGurus now has a podcast. It's called The Driveway, and it features yours truly and the rest of our great content team. Be sure to check it out wherever you get your other favorite podcasts. And finally, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. We'll see you out there.